3 looks with 3 palettes. One of them is new and the other 2 are not so new. So let's first talk about the newest palette, and that is the new Blend Bunny Cosmetics plastic palette. Can you believe how small this is? I'm so excited to see this smaller layout, and this is basically, I would say, definitely leaning towards kind of like a Valentine's Day color story and palette, but not necessarily theme, obviously. I would say this is more of a neutral color story, with the exception of the 2 pops of the almost neon pink shimmer shadow and matte eyeshadow as well. And I like the cute touch of the embossings in the matte pans. And I did receive this palette in PR, so thank you so much to Blend Bunny Cosmetics for sending it over to me. The next palette, it's the Shellwe Makeup Farasha palette. I'm going to be showing you the smaller pan version, but they do have a full-size round pan version as well. But I have so many eyeshadows, so I wanted to keep the smaller one. And I did receive this palette in PR, so thank you so much for sending it over to me. Love this color story. I do think the color story is not as obvious with these thinner pans, but I love the grungy tones and the pastels. It actually almost reminds me a little bit of that Kaleidos makeup palette that I cannot think of right now for the life of me. It's kind of giving similar vibes, so very excited to try this one out. And then the last palette is a Give Me Glow palette. When is the last time I tried a Give Me Glow palette? I did buy this during their Black Friday sales, so it is new, and it's called the My Little Teddy palette. I'm not sure how I feel about the plastic cover here. I think I would have preferred to have not seen inside of it, and it does say it's limited edition, so I don't know how limited edition it is. I mean, it's a neutral palette. I don't know why it would need to be a limited edition, but these are larger square pans, and I do believe this is a new formula to Give Me Glow, which is why I really wanted to try them out. I wasn't really the biggest fan of their matte eyeshadow formula previously, so I really wanted to see what their new formula was like, and it is the palette I'm wearing on my eyes. So first, I'm going to show you detailed swatches of all the shimmer shadows. I'm going to talk about texture and finish, and then we'll get into the looks with each of the palettes, and then I'll give you some of thoughts at the end of the video. So let's get right into it. Here are the shimmers from the My Little Teddy palette. So we got Sugar Bear, Bear Claw Glaze, Wanna Play, and Chocolate Cub. And these are all super smooth and very shiny. And they don't feel squishy or anything like that. They just feel like really nice types of shimmer shadows. Like they're very smooth and very, very opaque. And then the last 2 shades are Such a Softie and Snuggle Squad. This one is a little bit more textured. I think you can kind of see just a little bit. But it does look very smooth. It just has extra sparkle in it. And then this one is more smooth. Next up is the Farasha palette from Shellwe Makeup. This one is very, very smooth, like silky smooth and high shine. This one right here is a little bit more harder pressed, almost feels like it's going to hard pan. And then this one has just ever so slightly a little bit more of a powdery texture to it. And this one is definitely a multi-chrome. I think this one's more like a dimensional shimmer. And then the blue is very, very, very pigmented. And then the other 2 shades, this one is a little bit flaky. I mean, this one just a tiny bit more, but this one has like larger flakes. But I think that they will smooth out. I just think that the flaky one might be a little bit harder to pick up. It looks like this one has hollow in it, which is a really nice, fun little surprise. Blend Bunny plastic palette, we have Sugar Zaddy plastic and faux. So this one looks very opaque and very shiny. They do feel very similar in terms of texture. Oh yeah, that one is, I mean, look at that. And this one, I feel like it's actually pretty opaque, but you might be able to get a little bit more of a sheer wash. And this one is just so pretty. It's a little bit more of like a satin, but it's very glowy. And plastic is definitely a duochrome. I love Sugar Zaddy. That one looks so, so sparkly. The 3 shades are Shallow, Cloud Chasin, and Gossip. And I forgot to mention none of the previous 3 shades were squishy or emollient or anything like that. They were pretty much, if you're familiar with the Blend Bunny shimmer formula, they were very much like that. Shallow and Gossip are more of a sparkly texture. They feel super, super nice and silky smooth in the pan. However, Cloud Chasin does feel pretty almost like wet, and when you really push on it, it almost feels like just a tiny bit sticky, which I definitely cannot put anywhere near my crease. And it does glide on, like, I mean, look at that. It's almost like, it's not quite like thick like paste, but it does have just like a certain feeling to it that's definitely not like the other shadows that are in the palette. and that one is a multi-chrome. I love, love, love Shallow and Gossip. I mean, those are so, so beautiful. I love the sparkle texture of those. Those are definitely my favorite shimmer texture from Blend Money. Going in with Extra Fluffy, and I'm just gonna put that out here and then kind of blend it inwards. So I'm gonna pretty much keep this area clear of any eyeshadow. And then I'm gonna take Bare Necessities and I'm gonna use that to essentially blend this outwards. And then I'm gonna dip into Cozy AF. I'm gonna bring that right above that and just further blend that out here. Taking a Hug Life, and I'm gonna put that on the outer corner. And I'm gonna first make sure I'm putting it on the lid, and I'm gonna put it on an angle. And I'm just kind of packing it on first. And then I'm gonna go back to the other brush. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of Bare Necessities. And I'm just gonna slowly start to blend it out into the outer edge. I'm gonna actually pick up a little bit of Hug Life. I do want to bring it out just a tiny bit. I feel like it's not focusing on my eye. Picked up Sugar Bear with my pinky, and I'm just gonna swipe it up. I feel like this kind of formula will definitely look a bit more opaque if you use a tacky primer, but it does feel dry, which is nice. So I'm just gonna swoop it up like that, and then I'm taking Such a Softie, which this one seems like it's maybe like a little bit, the tiniest bit maybe more textured. I'm just kind of tapping it and blending it into that other shade. That is so beautiful. Very, very like a glistening kind of shade. I did connect my lower lash line just a little bit, just kind of swooped it down. So here's the finished look. The shimmer looks so beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Very excited to try the other shimmers. So there aren't any shade names, but I'm gonna go in with the shade on the outer corner. And then I think I'm gonna do this one in the crease. And then I don't know for the shimmers yet. I am first picking up the pink. And I'm just gonna put that into my crease first. It's sticking down a little bit over here. So I'm gonna take a little bit of translucent powder in the same brush and just take it over the edges of that. And I think it might be the primer. I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more, kind of try to fluff it up a little bit. And then I'm going to take the darkest shade in the palette, the one all the way at the end. It's kind of like a gray, like a dark, dark gray. And I'm just going to bring it underneath their lower lash line and onto the outer corner. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of it on a fluffier brush. This is the T63 from Makeup Shack. I'm just going to blend this out. I'm going to pick up a little bit more underneath the lower lash line. And then just kind of blend it in here a little bit, but I will be putting a shimmer down anyway. The shimmer, I'm going to pick up this one right here. It looks like it's hollow. And then I think on the inner corner, I'm gonna go in with this one right here. And I'm just taking my pinky to apply it since it's a really small pan. And I'm gonna put that right in the center. You can definitely see a little bit of the hollow. And then picked up the other shade, and I'm just gonna kind of swoop this up from the inner corner. And I picked up the blue shade, and I'm gonna put that underneath my lower lash line. I did miss the brush just to help it apply easier. I still am getting fallout though. And that's just gonna go all the way around my lower lash line. Definitely see a bunch of fallout. And then the inner lid shade I'm gonna also put on the inner corner. And here's the finished look. Moving on to the plastic palette from Blend Money. I think I want to do pink out here, then the kind of peach on the inner crease, and then like really smoke it out here. So I'm gonna use the B2 brush from Blend Bunny, and I'm just gonna pack on the pink essentially first. So just kind of putting it down first. We'll see how this turns out. And I'm going to take a more blending kind of brush, just something that has a little bit more give to it. And I'm just going to start blending out the edges of that underneath my lower lash line, and then just outwards in general. Just kind of like that. And then blend it out super nicely. And then I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to pick up Self-Made. And that's just going to go right on the inner half of my crease. Just kind of bringing it up a little bit. And these two are so pretty together. And then I do want to deepen out this outer corner, so I'm going to go back into the B2 brush. And I think I'm going to first pick up Rumor Has It and just kind of put it down first on the lid. And a little bit underneath the lower lash line. And just going back in with a little bit more, again underneath my lower lash line as well. And I'm just blending it into the pink essentially. I'm gonna go back in with a little bit more pink. I didn't want the red to really take over. So I want to make sure I retain the bright pink. I'm just gonna go back in with this fluffier brush with nothing on it and just go over the edges again. And then now I'm going to deepen out. So now I'm going to take Reputation, and I'm just going to put it right up against my lash line, above and on the lower. And I'm using a really small, more like pencil brush for this, because I don't want this to completely take over the look. I'm going to wipe off the brush, and now I'm going to slowly blend it, just the edges. And blend out here. I'm going to switch to the more kind of flat blending brush and just really blend it out here in the outer corner. I think I'm going to bring in a little bit more Rumor Has It just up here. And I think that's pretty good for the depth. Picked up Clout Chasin' on the Refer 21 brush, and that's going to go on the center on my lid, moving it into the outer corner. I think this one is a multi-chrome. Definitely has a darker base to it, so it's gonna be more of like a smoky eye look. Picked up Gossip on the What's Up Beauty R107 brush, and I misted it just a little bit. And that's gonna go right on the inner corner. It's gonna really melt into that peach matte on the inner crease. And again, bringing it up and swooping it up. And then also bringing it down as the inner corner highlight. Kind of want to go in with something underneath the lower lash line. But I kind of feel like, no, I'm going to go in with Clout Chasin' actually. And I'm going to mist it again. And it's just going to go in the center area. Kind of reflecting what I did on the top lash line. And here's the finished look. So first I'm going to talk about the Farasha palette. I'm pretty familiar with their formulations at this point. The mattes are pretty pigmented. As for the shimmers, there are a couple of different textures in here. There is one shade, this one right here. It's a little bit kind of hard pressed and a little bit thicker, and it is prone to hard panning. I didn't notice that one being kind of starting to hard pan the moment I touched it. It is the smoothest, and this one is the most flaky. So I like the varied texture in a palette, especially something kind of more cohesive like this, because it just offers a little bit more of a variety. So first impressions, I do like the palette, and I love this color story. I feel like there's a lot of different looks you could create with this one. It's definitely like a palette where you could do a matte in the crease and a shimmer on the lid. So moving on to the plastic palette from Blend Bunny. This is not my color story. I'm not a pink eyeshadow girly, especially these kinds of bright pinks, though the shimmer is really, really beautiful. It's not necessarily really shiny or sparkly. It's very glowy. It's got a very smooth texture to it. So I think personally, I'm not really going to be reaching for these. And I did have a little bit of staining when I use this one. I do gravitate more towards some of these other shades, especially Gossip and Plastic. I think those two are so beautiful. And Gossip is very, very sparkly. And so is Shallow. I love seeing a smaller palette again from Blend Money, and I forgot to mention it is magnetic. I'm so excited. You best believe I'm going to be buying all the palettes that they re-release that have magnetic pans. So excited to do some Blend Money BYOPs. So hopefully this year we're gonna see some Blend Money BYOPs. There is one shimmer shade which I have to be very careful where I use, which I wouldn't use this shade up anywhere near my crease anyways, but this one is very squishy and almost it feels a little bit sticky, and as somebody with hooded oily lids, that is just not something I can really use anywhere near my crease. It has such a wet texture, and usually these kinds of shadows don't tend to set down no matter what, so it is something to keep in mind. The other shimmer shadows are not like that. They're the usual Blend Money formula, so I'm really excited to see more of these kinds of layouts from Blend Money, smaller color stories, and magnetic pans. I'm so excited for that. And lastly, the My Little Teddy palette. I almost said My Little Pony from Gimme Glow. So this one I've only used 2 times so far, so I do definitely have to dip into it some more, but upon first impression, the matte formula feels different from their previous formula. I could tell from the way that I was working with it that it was blending much easier. All of the mattes in here are very, very pigmented. Like, think of like Melt Cosmetics level of pigment. There is no building up with these. I think you would have to be extremely strategic in just how much product you're picking up so that you could build these up, but these are very, very pigmented. So if you do it like that, then this is definitely something to consider, especially if you want an all neutral palette. That being said, I think this could have been condensed down. I think this could have been 2 less rows, and I wouldn't have really felt like it affected just how much I was getting in the palette because they're all different tones of browns. That being said, I do like that we have some lighter shades, predominantly some more mid-tone shades, as well as some deepening up shades. And then the shimmers I would say feel pretty much from what I remember Gimme Glow shimmers to feel like, with the exception of this one right here. This one is the only one that's slightly more flaky, a little bit more textured, a little bit extra sparkly, but the rest of these are very, very smooth. I'm trying to think of like what brand to really compare it to, but they're not squishy, they're not emollient, they're not wet at all. They're very opaque and they do have a beautiful shine to them. And I don't see these accentuating any sort of skin texture, with the exception of maybe this one if you put on a little bit too much. But otherwise, I'm really enjoying this palette. I think this is a great neutral palette. I feel like this is like you need one neutral palette and you're kind of all set because you just have so many different tones in here. And I think it's a nice variety of shimmers. I would have loved to see maybe one more kind of lighter shimmer in here because I do feel like some of these are like just a little bit similar to each other. But overall, I'm really excited about it. I'm not sure why it's limited edition. Kind of wish it wasn't. Packaging, it's okay. I wish that it didn't have the little clear cover. It almost seems like if I put other stuff on top of it, it's just not as protected, even though this does feel, I mean, it's like okay kind of plastic in here. I just feel like it looks a little bit cheapened. So those are some of my first impression thoughts on these 3 palettes. I will keep you updated on how I feel about them. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing the monthly palette ranking. I might do it more like every 10 palettes versus monthly. A lot of times I've been feeling like I would rather film a different video than having to film this one like for sure each month. It's starting to feel a little bit like I have to do it for the sake of doing it versus like I wish I could film something else that I think might be a little bit better. Let me know in the comments below if you picked any of these palettes up. I would love to hear your thoughts. And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.